Hey, hey. Hi, guys. All right, Scorpios, let's get into this, shall we? I know my hair looks like it got electrocuted, but that's just how it is today. I was out in the wind. So, Scorpio, happy full moon. Of course, the full moon energy is a great time to release things. This particular full moon is the buck moon. So, it's a great time for acceleration of energy. Also, because the buck moon refers to the time where deer's antlers are in like a big growth phase. So we'll keep all that in mind because this could be a nice changeable, moment. And so we're kind of looking at like what's going on and what will, be the result of this full moon. So we have sacred purpose, eternal flame, ancestral legacy, card 43. If I remember correctly, Scorpio, I think Taurus got that. Actually, let me change decks here and let's jump on in. Okay, so if we have a character that is aware of or becoming aware during this full moon of, wow, wait a second, I'm on my life path, then I would say instead of this full moon being a time to release things, it's a time for that acceleration. All right. I'm hopeful that second time's the charm there. I know that got all wonky and buffery twice in a row. But it seems like when it does it twice, then it settles in. So as we were saying, this just looks like this full moon is a time where Scorpio could be suddenly feeling quite aligned. Like they can see the road ahead. They can see their path ahead. They can see where they need to put their energy, put their emphasis. This Fool card could also be somebody entering into Scorpio's world. This is a leap of faith typically, but we may have a character that is ready to just, I'll say, come on in and get things started, get a relationship going, get the next step of an adventure going. But this is a plan being put into place. We have the moon in the reverse. Okay, so we definitely have this full moon brings up this clarity. I know what I'm here for. I know what my gifts are. I know what my purpose is. I would say this. I think our Scorpio is recognizing that they have some extremely gifted energy. I'm trying to look and see. I have a deck that I would love to pull from for this. And I don't see it handy, so we'll go with something else altogether differently here. Because I want to know what Scorpio's gifts are. And I feel like our Scorpio is becoming aware of it themselves. I don't know what their talent, their gift is, but it's something like inherent. Hi, Addison. Hi, Kimberly. Seven of Swords. Okay. First off, Taurus could be a little human lie detector. They could smell BS from a mile away. They may be realizing that my life's purpose is to call it as I see it. They may have recently recognized that they can spot, I don't know, that's Seven of Swords. That's lies. That's running away. That's unreliability. Queen of Wands. So they can spot somebody who's fronting. They can spot people's true motives. They can spot people who are trying to behave as if they're very empowered and they're in control and they have, this, people who act like they've got this swaggering confidence. And I think Scorpio's like, you know what I realize? I can smell the people that are full of it. Now, this is a great skill to have if you're like in HR and, you help with the hiring department. This is a great skill to have in any area of life. But I'm getting this vibe that I think Scorpio might be a bit of maybe they're a real truth teller, or maybe they're realizing that they have a place. I mean, this could be somebody going to be going into some kind of career path or community type group where they're going to be able to step into a leadership role. And one of the talents that they have is they have a real skill for sleuthing out who's authentic and who's inauthentic. That would be quite the gift, to be a leader who has that ability. And I'm thinking that Scorpio during this full moon is just realizing it's not that I vaguely, sense that, that person rubs me the wrong way. I think Scorpio is being more cerebral about this and saying, you know what? I just realized I have a talent for reading people. I can see through the facade. No matter how good that facade is, I can see right through it. That is a real talent. That is a real gift. And if Scorpio, by the way, Scorpio could be 43, or that could be part of their lucky number, add that up and we get a 7, which is a divine number. This could be a divine gift. Maybe they actually have like a sense of divinity to them, because we do have ancestral legacy. Maybe, Scorpio had a family member who passed this gift down to them. Maybe it's the gift to, like, I'm not going to say mind read exactly, because, these are stories, right? So we can go as fanciful, as fictional, as sci-fi as we want. And I always love the magical sci-fi type stories. But in this storyline, I'm just going to say that I think our Scorpio is more, we'll say, astute than what they have given themselves credit for previously. Now, if we want to go down the fantasy sci-fi route, we could say maybe they are, somebody else got like a storyline that had telepathy type stuff in it, and it was really a fun sci-fi story too. I love it when we get twists and turns in stories, right? Because we can tell any story we wish. But I really do enjoy this energy of, like, if nothing else, we'll just say that Scorpio is realizing that I'm very astute. And this is going to help me moving forward now that I accept this gift. It's not a mystery anymore. How do I have a premonition? How do I know what I know? I just do. And now I understand why. It's because that's what my gift is. That's what my purpose is. So let me move forward in life, just simply acknowledging that now. We could say that this Scorpio could now start trusting their intuition better, because they're like, well, it's not quite intuition. It's a little more than that. 10 of Pentacles. This is really, if Scorpio like embraces this, that might help them to, select friends that they genuinely trust. And again, we're talking about it in a magical sense, but let's bring it back down to something just very legitimate. Look, the way we know somebody is lying is we can imagine, like, I sense it all day long, but I think Scorpio's like, I sense something's off, which means then I go look for proof. Once I have proof, then I can confirm something was a lie. And I think that's the way Scorpio operates. And I say that specifically because this is a card of something tangible. So we have to have tangible proof. And now that Scorpio is like saying, hey, I've got really great intuitions, but then I back it up with cold hard facts. If something, my spidey senses go off and I go, yeah, I don't believe this person, then Scorpio looks into it and finds the answer, finds the proof, and then they go, yep, either this person is not truthful or authentic, or perhaps somebody absolutely is, and then I can bring them into my inner circle. It just feels like that's more the way I think Scorpio is just acknowledging during this full moon that I'm out seeking new people that I would consider my family, new romance, look, I'm guessing that Scorpio got really good at sleuthing out fact from fiction, because they probably have dealt with plenty of liars. And they're like, yep, that's how come I can spot them a mile away. And now that I move forward, knowing that I can trust myself, if something feels funky, I don't ignore it. If I get the most subtle little whiff of something that makes me go, I don't know, that what they just said, 3 of those things don't add up. The other 17, yeah, that makes perfect sense. But 3 of those things I don't believe were true. Scorpio isn't going to let it go or brush it under the rug. As they move forward after this full moon, I think that they're going to be very aware that their instincts serve them well. So I do think we have a Scorpio who's starting to like invite new people into their life, and I think they're going to have much more success. Maybe if this could be applied to a business arena, in the beginning I said, hey, a great skill to have if you're in HR. If you got to be hiring people, you got to decide, who do I think is a good hire? Who do I think is blowing hot air? I'm going to say that certainly this could apply well in the business realm, and that 10 of Pentacles can represent business, but it can also represent any matter of stability and family. We do have this 4 of Cups here. I think if anything, there's going to be, I think moving forward, as Scorpio basically brings new people into their life, only people that they trust, as they start to build new relationships, I do think there's going to be someone out there that is still like pretending to be flabbergasted. Like, I don't get it. Scorpio, how come I can't be in your life? Like, I didn't do anything. This person is like sitting over here arguing with the squirrels next to the tree of life, and they're super disappointed. How come I can't come and play anymore? How come Scorpio won't let me back in? Now, this could be a water sign, does not have to be. This could have been, I don't really want to bring this up, but I don't know if this is a very specific story where either Scorpio had somebody who might not have been trustworthy. There could have been a friend that was untrustworthy. There could have been a lover that was untrustworthy. Could have been two people that were untrustworthy. But Scorpio's not having any of it, and they just are not interested in messing with people or tolerating people that are like crying foul, like, boo hoo, I don't get it. Why won't you talk to me? Why can't I still be in your life? Because even if I don't know every detail, if I get a whiff of the fact that I don't think you're trustworthy, and if I have some facts to back up that there's holes in your story, I'm already over it. I'm already moving on. I just think it's going to save Scorpio so much freaking time for them to not have to deal with liars or, people game playing, because our time is precious, right? Like, we get lots of years on this planet, we all get about to at least into our 70s and, well beyond that. We can get into our 80s, our 90s, into our hundreds, 114. I mean, we can live a long time, but at the same time, every single one of those years is precious. Like, I'm about to be 45. That means I've had 45 summers, 45 winters, 40, that's it's a lot of time. But if somebody wastes a whole bunch of those, they eat up 11 of those out of my 44, 45 summers and winters and springs and falls lying to me. I'm getting pissed that they took 11 of my winters and summers and springs. When we look at it like that, we look at how important our time is. We don't want to lose, a fourth of what we got to a liar or whatever it may be. We don't want to lose 2 days to a liar. And I think that this is all about my time is as valuable as any other commodity I've got. Now we have Scorpio shifting over to the 7 of Cups. And the biggest thing here is like, there's so many other people to try out. There's so many other jobs to work in. There's so many other friends to meet. If I found that certain friends were full of crap, certain employers weren't really what they seemed to be, certain lovers weren't really who they seemed to be, this Scorpio's like, yeah, I drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot. And I move on because there's so many other people and I only got so many summers and winters, and I want to fill all of my time with at least new faces, new people. I'll induct new or interview for new people in my life. And I want ones that I'm attracted to, drawn to, that inspire me, where there's a spark. Because this is that Page of Wands. I think this feels very exciting. This feels like Scorpio just freaking cleaned house of either a whole bunch of people that were possibly not trustworthy, or possibly at least one feminine and one masculine that were not trustworthy in their life. And around this full moon, this is Scorpio not, the way we've put this into a context is a little different than we normally would. It's not like, oh, these people did me dirty. They lied to me. They betrayed me. I was hurt. I'm having to heal from this. No. This is Scorpio. Scorpio is so much more streamlined. Scorpio's like, F that. Are you kidding me? I only got so many summers and winters. I'm going to go ahead and I only want to have a fun time with whomever else rocks my world, floats my boat. I'm bringing new people in. This is not about like, now let me heal. Now let me get over the betrayal. This is like, already done. Dude, already done. It's in my rear view. I'm not going to let anybody steal my time. And I just think that is such a great empowered concept. And if we go back, that sacred purpose, that eternal flame, ancestral legacy, I really think this is going to, like, this whole snapshot that we have of Scorpio is Scorpio locking in, dialing it in to what they really want, who they're willing to interact with, who they're not. And I feel like them acknowledging that maybe let me put it in a more personal context. I'll say this about myself. I can say this in retrospect. I have very rarely, I can't actually think of a time where in retrospect, once I found out something, say, unsavory or something wonderful about an interaction that I had, you know what, I've never been surprised because I knew right out of the gate. If I was like, oh, spidey senses don't know about this, versus somebody where I'm like, this seems like just a solid person. Now, this is not a conscious thought that I would have. This is more like the feel, the vibe, something like that. And then things play out and you interact with people, and it might be 2 years, it might be 15 years. But then you can look back and you can go, I knew from the very beginning that person was a really stand-up person. I just knew they were decent. It doesn't mean they don't have off days or they don't get crabby, but I knew that person was on the whole decent. Or I knew right out of the gate they were sneaky. I mean, I got the vibe right away. How come I didn't ever listen to that until 15 years, down the road, and you're like, yeah, I'm not surprised that they cheated, that they were sketchy from day one. What the heck? I knew that if I had just listened to that little teeny tiny voice. Now, again, I think this is really important to go back to the message though about like not doing people wrong unless you have proof. But then there's the other side where don't be blind and push away, instinct, intuition, warning signs, little alarm bells in your head. There's a fine line between paying attention or jumping ahead and manufacturing something that isn't true and, judging people before you get to know them. Somewhere between those two is like the sweet spot. Well, Scorpio's got the sweet spot. That's what I would say about this. All right, I am going to leave this one here. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Leah, Lillian Tidwell, great to see you. Addison, thank you, sweetheart. So good to see you. And again, Kimberly, thanks so much for popping in. I agree, Leah. Time is the most valuable asset. As you can tell, I'm running behind like crazy for these couple weeks. But we should be able to get 2 zodiacs out for every zodiac sign this week. I've just got 2 more to do tonight. And then everybody got their full moon message. So after this, I'm going to go live and do Ophiuchus and Gemini. And if you're looking for any of the other zodiacs, they've all already been posted today or last night. So this is our last 2 to do tonight. And then after I do Ophiuchus and Gemini, I'm going to bounce over to Tarot Dog tonight. All right, you guys, lots of love. So good to see you. Dana Knight, wonderful to see you. I love that, Dana. My pleasure, Kimberly. I'm honored you're here. Thank you. Bye, guys.